Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Drop Podcast. Today has been a very exquisite day. I was very, very excited. Very, very excited. Very, very excited to do this. After a good day of work. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, I was very excited to do this today. I woke up. Whoops. Alright, my bad. I woke up tired as heck. But anyway, so I said I was doing these different, and basically what that means is, as far as this goes, nothing is different. Everything is the same, except if you're going to listen on if you're gonna listen, like if you're going through Anchor or Spotify, or any of the various just like audio platforms where it's just me talking. The only difference is I'm gonna try doing I wanted to try, maybe, instead of saying the Drop Podcast, in parentheses, FireRed part whatever, I want to try doing like whatever topic I talk about, which is a lot of topics because I'm like never on one subject in particular. But I just figured that well, I've been listening to a lot of I've just been paying attention to a lot of podcasts. Like, I've been listening to this podcast called Bigger Pockets Podcast, which is all about like investing in real estate. But one thing I noticed between Bigger Pockets, Joe Rogan, I'm trying to think. I also listen to Philosophize This. Is all of them, like, they're more popular podcasts. And I think one of the reasons is because those podcasts are they have names to them. So like, for example, I mean, Joe Rogan is easy because Joe Rogan just says like, "Oh, I have this guest," you know what I mean? But then, like, Bigger Pockets will be like, it'll say like some topic, like they do what's called the forgot. It's called like the deal deep dive, and typically like the title will have something to do kind of with that deal deep dive, maybe, or just like their first ever deal, or like the one I listened to today. Well, actually, the one I listened to yesterday, because I forgot already what the one today was. Oh, the one today was like someone that the main guy worked with. Oh, and the guy was like homeless. So it said like from homeless to 22 something million or whatever. Like, I don't know, but like something like that. And so it just kind of like catches your eye, sort of gives you an idea of what the topic is. And so I kind of figured like that might be a better way to try and scale these, because right now it's just kind of like there's not really incentive unless you, well, one, like, people don't know what the drop is, right? People are just like, what the hell is a drop, and then, so I think that's the first problem. And then I think the second thing is that in parentheses I just put FireRed. So I mean, then I'm getting to the audience of Pokemon, which is not necessarily the audience that I want to target. even though I do this, like I always say, it's more for entertainment. And especially if you're listening on the podcast, the focus is more of how I develop everything. You know what I mean? So like I think the really good benefit of this, like I think why this is so cool to me is, one, it's easy. 2, it's enjoyable. But like 3, it's kind of like documentation. Like it's almost like a self-made documentary, whatever that's called. And that's how I want it to be. I don't want it to be like, oh, the games, you know. So I feel like kind of like right now there's a bit too much attention on that, and also not as much detail into what is actually going on in the episode. And so there's not really anything eye-catching, you know what I mean? There's not anything grappling you to come check it out. So yeah, so that being said, probably gonna just for this episode, and I'm gonna keep the YouTube the same, just because I figure, like, if people are watching on the YouTube, it's probably more for the gameplay, you know, versus if you're listening to the podcast, it's more for, I guess, like, the real technical purpose of it, you know. And so I kind of think that's a good way to sort of balance the two sides of it. A good way to kind of do both at the same time. So, like, people who do just want to watch, like, me play a game, like, whatever, you know what I mean, let them watch. You know what, maybe they'll also be, that'll be what introduces them to the culture thing, you know what I mean, because I'm all about building the culture, the leadership culture. So maybe that'll be like what sort of introduces people to goals, to setting goals, introduces people to I don't know, just like some of the people that I talk about sometimes, like Tony Robbins or Dean Graziosi, you know, all these like self improvement people that have a huge focus on just bettering your life and stuff like that. It might be something that might inspire people to look into this type of stuff, and then, you know what I mean, and then that might be something, just like one way to spread out that culture, build it on a greater level, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, so that's kind of like the idea behind that. And I also thought it'd be a good way, because I already see that I'm kind of building like a group of people, and I'm really happy with that. Like, I think that's really incredible. Good, consistent group of people that come to watch, and you know, I think that's awesome. Yeah, I'm just trying to scale it, pretty much. Just kind of grow it. Because I went through my goals the other day. I sort of did, since it's kind of well, it's a little bit late. But typically, like, I'll try to revisit my goals, like, the first of the month. Just to, like, set the focus of this month. Like, what is the goal of this month? What is the purpose of this month? And so I was revisiting it. And this time I took an extra step. Because I was sort of going through, like, a weird thing. It's like I have everything in place right now. So everything's ready. Like, everything's built. The structure of it is all built. Now it's just like, where do I put my money? You know what I mean? Like, now I'm just saving all this money. And you know what I mean? Like, I'm putting my money into things, but I don't really market very well. And I know that's a downside, or that's like a something that I need to work on a lot. But yeah, so I don't really market very well. And and yeah, I mean, just pretty much like what I said. Like, I'm just saving and it kind of feels like useless right now. Like I'm just kind of waiting, and so I wasn't really sure like what to do with this, and why I had to, like I felt it was necessary for me to revisit the whole money thing. Like what is the objective? Where am I trying to go? Because I hate the feeling of just working without knowing where you're going. Like you're just blindly walking, you know. Just doesn't make a lot of sense. You know what I mean? I had this really great quote from someone that I've known for a while, and I mean, she was just asking like, "Oh, what's up? Like, what's going on with your life?" And I was just talking, and she brought up, or like my job came up. I was like, "Oh yeah, I have a job," and I was like, "I don't want to be there like forever," you know what I mean? But I'm really happy with it, and I like it. But I'm really just trying to get into some real estate, and then, you know, get out as soon as possible and sort of pursue what I really want to do. And she was like, "Oh yeah, be smarter than us. Work to get out of your work." And I was like, dang, that is a quote. Work to get out of your work. That was really good. Now this person is a second grade still, I'm not sure. But she's a teacher for one of those like younger grades. She actually might have moved up, because I know she's been, I remember that her favorite to teach is second grade. She likes the younger students better. But yeah, I mean, like, she's just, I don't know, she never, like, I don't know, but that just goes to show, like, that's the whole thing about how about you. Like, you can find leadership wisdom from anyone, you know what I mean? Because I gotta be honest, I am at fault of the same thing I'm trying to change, and that's kind of like the reason why I'm trying to change it. And the thing that I'm trying to change, by the way, is just this idea of here, let me explain it this way. So I noticed in myself that, well, for one, I have a younger sibling, and I feel as though I did not show her the I did not expect a lot from her growing up. I think it's kind of in that way. So like we bully our siblings, and you know, like, we'll ignore them, act like they're dumb. And it's not so much that you're mean to them, it's more that you don't expect much from them. And I think whenever you change it to that perspective, now you have a solution. Because, I mean, you know, people act dumb, you know what I mean? But, you know, there's a difference between, or there's not, well, I guess what I'm trying to say, I don't know. I'm not articulating this very well. But the point I'm trying to make is, it's kind of like she would come up to me and I just wouldn't be very enthusiastic about what she said. I would just kind of ignore it. And I felt guilty because she would be acting the same way as some of, like, my friends would. You know what I mean? So this is the first realization. One in myself, that I have this double standard for people my age. And then two, that we're all really the same. We're never really that different. It's just some people are less afraid to be, less afraid to let that child out, you know what I mean? But that was just sort of like the first time that I noticed, like, wow, we really aren't that different. And then I started noticing it in adults with teenagers. I started seeing the habits that some of the adults in my life had that us teenagers have, you know what I mean? But this time, not the childhood, like, playful, you know, make a stupid comment. More the insecurity. And so this is sort of whenever it hit me, like, I can't do that. I can't be insecure. And so rather, like, now I pursue this, and I'm not good at it. I want that to be clear. I'm not good at it. But it's the realization that's the first step. But I try to be this, I try to be more playful, you know what I mean? I try to just say stupid stuff, because, well, it's kind of like this, like, you're not gonna lose anything, you know what I mean, except for bad people, because if you say stupid stuff, you know, the people that really are gonna be there for you whenever you need it, if they really aren't gonna like you because, you know, you said, I don't know, like, and I'm not talking about stupid stuff like you're just, like, annoying, but just, like, you just make, like, a dumb, playful joke. Like, if you really think about it, is your sibling all that annoying? Like, are the things they're saying, like, really that annoying? And I'm not talking about, like, obviously, if someone's going la 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 in your ear, like, that's annoying, you know what I mean? That's dumb. But if they're just, like, talking about, I don't know, like, my younger sister likes to play games, you know what I mean? And I don't know, like, sometimes we'll just make fun of her for it. Or like, she really likes, what is it, Percy Jackson. We'll make fun of her for it. But is that, but then I see that connection, like, then we'll talk about some TV show that we watch, and all of a sudden it's different, you know what I mean? It's not different at all. It's just us. It's just this weird insecurity that we have. And then the weirdest thing about it is then it makes us insecure about ourselves watching it. Like, we don't want other people to notice that we're watching this, you know what I mean? But it's all rooted in that disagreement with yourself. Like, like I said, you're always building a relationship with yourself. So in every action that you do, it's important to make yourself more in alignment, you know what I mean? More in relationship with yourself, more closer with yourself. Otherwise, you get all insecure and angry and depressed and confused and anxious. But anyway, I was on to a different point. I got off track. Shoot. Oh yeah. Well, I was saying that, like, I noticed that I have the same habits as a lot of the younger people in my life, and then I also have the same habits as a lot of the and then I guess I just said that the older people then have the same habits as me, and, you know, if A plus B equals C, then C plus A equals, wait, that's not true, never mind, or is it? I don't know, well, you get the point, it's correlated, you know what I mean? If we act like kids and adults act like us, then adults also act like kids. I'm Irish, you know what I mean? Well, I'm not Irish, but I have like 70 or like 80% Irish in me. And so basically, you know, I'm pretty pasty. and so, like, you can see my cheeks, like, my cheeks get red. But to me, it's always worth, like, I like, there'll be moments before I say something where I know it's gonna be dumb, and I'm like, you know what, this is good. And I go through this sort of debate in my head, and I say, okay, either they're going to laugh or they're not. You know what I mean? But are they going to exit your life? Like, are you going to die? You know what I mean? What's the worst thing that could happen? Like, you say this, and then someone pulls out a gun and is like, that was so dumb, I'm going to shoot you. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, it's not going to happen. Like, the worst that's going to happen is people are going to be like, okay, that's awkward. And then they're going to move on. You know what I mean? They're going to move on. And either people are going to like you or they're not. You know what I mean? You can't control that. And that kind of depends on that person themselves. Like a judgmental person is not going to like you. But that's more rooted from an insecurity. I guarantee you, if you just keep being you, and you just keep saying the stupid stuff that comes to your head, eventually people are going to appreciate that vulnerability that you have. And after years, they're going to come back. Because you see, what you're doing is you're always playing the long-term game. Because it has the greatest reward. So you're always investing for, like, long term. And just by being yourself, you are building a more genuine relationship with people that's going to be way more beneficial in the long run than all these superficial relationships that you build. And then you grow up and you're kind of insecure, and you make fun of your kid for watching whatever show, and then feel awkward whenever you're watching your show. You know what I mean? Because you're insecure, because you're in disalignment, because you made fun of your kid whenever you're doing the exact same thing. But for some reason, it's okay. You know what I mean? And you have to keep making excuses why it's okay, and then you just get. It's just what is it called? It's just a downward spiral. It's not a healthy thing mentally. Now, of course, I don't think there's any like moral thing to it. Now, well, I wouldn't say that. I would say there is. Coming from the perspective that, morality, a good moral code is to act in whatever way that if every single person acted, the world would be a better place. I think that is the healthiest thing that you can do when it comes to morality. But whether there is any like sin involved, I don't know. That's the best way that I could put that. But yeah, so, but it's weird. Like, why do we get so? And whenever I say this, like, I'm obviously talking about myself too. Like, why do we get so caught up on these small things? Like, I always looked up to people that would just be themselves, but for some reason, like, I couldn't. You know what I mean? I think that was one of my biggest struggles just growing up. It's just so hard, you know? And you're so afraid of being judged, but if you just keep being you, like, eventually you build friends, and you say something dumb, and people are like, did he really just say that? And they're just like, oh yeah, that's just him. You know what I mean? And then you have a personality, you know what I mean? Then you're unique, you're special, people know you. You have something that you're remembered by. Another thing, like one time I said that I made this really dumb comment. It was funny though, it was hilarious. And I said my perspective, like, well, my other thing is, okay, you say something dumb, and the way I see it, it's just gonna be a funny story later. Like, you say something dumb now, it's just gonna be something that you guys laugh about. And like, if they're good friends and they're there for you in the long run, it's just something that you're all gonna look back at and you're just gonna find funny. And so I think this is the best thing I think I've ever heard. So right after I said that, this guy goes, so Josh, it's kind of like, well, I crashed the car, but we got there. So, I don't know. I just thought that was funny. But I like it. It's good. So in my like reflection for this week's goals, I was looking at just like these past 2 months have been so focused on just building and building and building. Like, I built this podcast, systemized it, YouTube, what else? Drop shipping, just everything I've been working on, music video for Speakeasy, music, you know what I mean? Everything has just been building, and I feel like I'm still very in touch with myself. Like, I'm very, like one of the things that I feel helps me out a lot, because I talk a lot about being in a relationship with yourself, right? Well, I feel like one of the things that I've really, really developed is that I'm really able to listen to myself. Like I can hear myself very well, and so I can tell that I'm kind of off. You know what I mean? And as soon as I feel it, I notice it, and that's like the biggest and most beneficial thing in my life. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from. But I want to reflect on. Oh yeah, but I did notice. I did notice in myself that I have sort of lost. I've lost this practice of just like developing my mental. Like I was having a conversation with my girlfriend, and I noticed that, well, alright, so before I get into the thing, I love school because it gave me all these ideas. Like it was just a place to fill me with all these interesting ideas. Especially my English class with my English teacher. He was incredible, and he would have us read. Like I found out about now I can't think of his name. There's Thoreau. I found about Thoreau and I don't know, a whole bunch of other just like writers and nature people. But I just found out about some of that stuff, and he himself was also a very philosophical individual. But it just gave me ideas to think on, and I loved that. I absolutely loved it. And I was listening to my girlfriend talking about this stuff, and talking about the exposure that she's getting. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things. That's one of the downsides of not going to school. You're not automatically getting that exposure. Now you can still get that exposure, and I'm gonna explain what I've done. So you can still get that exposure. There's for no reason whatsoever, unless you don't have any access to internet, and which I guess could be possible in a time like this. But as I was saying, actually, what was I saying? That's weird. I just completely forgot. Oh yeah, the exposure. So like you can, like if you have Google, you can find anything. You know what I mean? It's just one of the most difficult things is knowing where to look, which I will admit that is a difficulty. But still, I don't believe in excuses. It's just knowing that you want it. You know what I mean? It's making that choice. Give me one quick second. Okay, sorry about that. So as I was saying though, it's just knowing what you want, you know? Knowing that for you want to grow in whatever you want to grow in. You know what I mean? Like you have to be able to identify what you want. And I think that's one of the most difficult things, because not everyone grows up with a culture of I want to grow. And I recognize that. I think that is a big issue. Or a big problem or difficulty. Just like the lack of exposure. And that's the good thing about school. It exposes you to things, like just like exposes your mind to ideas that you wouldn't previously have known. But anyway, I noticed in myself like a lot of, because I was listening to a lot of Joe Rogan, which is good exposure, but it's not everything. You know what I mean? Like it's not detailed exposure. It's just things that he's talking about. with whatever guest he has. And a lot of times his guests will be like a comedian, which is a good exposure, but like I said, it's not really detailed information that's gonna help cultivate your mind, you know what I mean? I just feel like it has to be a good balance. Like, it's good to get like that comedic side, like the funny, just like see how they talk and communicate. But at the same time, like, you're not going to be learning about philosophy and like deep things that are specifically targeted at ideas, you know what I mean? At growing these ideas. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about. But so what I noticed though is what I noticed for me is I was losing it. I was losing that thought thinking. I was just so focused on growing these businesses. And well, this is where it comes from. I also didn't have that. I wasn't being forced to be exposed to it. So the good thing is I got to choose and I got to spend my time. I got to invest my time where I wanted to put it to grow what I needed to grow at the time. So it's a good thing, but at the same time, I did feel that I was missing something, But so I developed this thing. So every single day, I listen to a podcast. Well, here I'll just run you through my day. So in the morning, obviously I set my goals, and then I do whatever. Like I'll usually pick one of my goals for the day, and then I'll work on it. You know what I mean? And for the morning, I'll work on it. And then I always take like at least a 10-minute nap before I leave, or else like my eyes will be like closing during work. So I always get a 10-minute nap, or after I do some of my work, then I make my lunch, take a 10-minute nap, and then I usually like give myself right before I take that 10-minute nap, I go to my podcasts, and here's my system. So I find one podcast to help develop my I do one podcast just for like life advice. And so right now that's The Art of Manliness. You know what I mean? Because like his guests are typically like these older folk that are more studied in something. Like typically it's someone who's writing a book at the moment or has written a book. So it's just exposing me to those things. And then I'll listen to, right after that, I listen to this French podcast. I don't know what that's for. Right after that, I listen to a French podcast to work on language, because I don't know if you guys knew, but I took 3 years of French in high school, and I really enjoyed it by the end. I didn't enjoy it at first. It was just something that I had to do, and I only had two options, Spanish or French. But now I am so glad I chose French. That's also where I met my girlfriend. The first year she sat like I forgot, behind me, or she sat in one direction with me. I don't know, but I just realized I should probably end this soon. Let me check my time real quick. We got a little bit of time, so but I'll just skip the girlfriend story. Yeah, so I'll do a French podcast, and then after the French podcast, I do a what do I do in between? Let's see, French podcast. I'm trying to remember. And then I'll do a business focused. So typically that's like Dean Graziosi to help me with my business. And he's just talking about like success habits and stuff. I think his podcast is like Millionaire Success Habits. So I listen to that one, and then I actually listen to the French one again because I always pick up on more the second time I listen. It's weird, and I also feel like, because the Art of Manliness, I start first thing in the morning. Like I wake up and then I press play on that podcast, and then I go work on whatever I need to work on while it's playing. So just like picking it up, and then I take my nap, and then I go to work, eat my apple. And so I think it's because my mind is not like yet clicked in or like focused. So it's like I'll hear it, it'll be going through my head and I hear it, or my ears and I'll hear it. I'll hear the French, but I'm not really paying super close attention. So then once I listen to the to Dean Graziosi, like he's very captivating. Like the way he talks is very gets you like listening, and I don't know, he's just a really good speaker. And so I feel like that sort of sets my ears to the podcast, and so then I'm listening to the podcast a lot more. And then so yeah, like I was saying, so I'll go back to the French podcast, and I always pick up on a whole bunch and hear these words that are like kind of cool, and you know what I mean, just like all that stuff. And then I'll do Bigger Pockets to help me with my investing, because that's the next step for me. I think getting into the house market is what is going to help me develop that passive income that I want to be able to live freely and not have to work and just be able to pursue this stuff. And then, so let's do that one. There's one more, but I can't really remember. And then I'll do entertainment, which is Joe Rogan. So I'm getting a very diverse poll. I forgot to mention. So I do. The one I was forgetting is Philosophize This. So I actually philosophize this, then I do the French. So I do the French, and then I do Philosophize This, then I do the French again. And into it, you know what I mean? Keep trying to grow and keep trying to be a sponge. That's at least my goal. Whatever you guys do is up to you, but you know, like the whole purpose of this podcast is to show, you know, what I do, and right, to show what I do and what helps me and how I'm growing, right? And then hopefully by the end of this, you'll see me a bajillionaire, or at least maybe not even a bajillionaire, but just like doing what I want to do, which is just exploring. I want to explore the entire country. I'm going to go all around the United States, go to every single state, and then go to Ireland. And now I've added France. I want to go to France too. France, just go to like almost every single state that I can, or whatever they call their places that people live in, over that way. Just see as much and experience as much as I possibly can, just developing these just gathering all this information on leadership, and because like I was saying before, you can find leadership in almost anywhere you look for it. If you just open your ears up to listen, even younger kids, like I don't remember if I ever finished my thought, but this grade school teacher gave me like one of these brilliant quotes: work to get out of work. It's incredible. And it was one of the moments I least expected, but that's something that's probably going to stick with me forever. Like, I'm going to keep saying it. Yeah. And so that's the point of How About You, like I was saying, which by the way is coming back next year. Next year is coming back. I want to do 2 episodes a month. Yeah, that is the plan. So it's getting pretty. This is a longer episode, but a good episode. Aw, dang. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see about how it does in regards to we'll see how it does in regards to like my new sort of method of what am I trying to say? We'll see how it does in regards to my methods of collecting more of seeing how many people view it. Now that I'm gonna sort of go for a more approach of like the content rather than the name, the drop. It's gonna be like, oh, the drop, da da da, whatever content is in the episode. So I'll get back to you guys with that, or on my social media. So that being said, make sure to follow me on Instagram at JoshuaTBryan64. And then you can also go to my website, joshuatbryan.com. You can find a whole bunch of information about me. And if you can't find it just by searching it, it's also in my link to my bio on my Instagram, which is one more time, JoshuaTBryan64. That's my Instagram